It's 2025 and this year the SEGA Mega Drive turns 35 years old in Europe. Yes, unfortunately we had to wait until 2 years after the Japanese launch to get it here. But that's fine, good things come to those who wait. And on that theme, there may be many of you who've only just picked up your own SEGA Mega Drive or SEGA Genesis. Or maybe you're thinking of getting one and want to know what games to play first. Well, this video is for you and for anyone interested in what would be our choices. This is Dan, the Mega Driver of the Sega guys, and just like we did with the Sega Master System and Sega Saturn, here are 10 games you should play first on your Sega Mega Drive. Once again, this is not a best of list, and it's certainly not my top 10, rather a selection of must play or starter titles across a variety of genres. Narrowing this list down to 10 was a real challenge. The Mega Drive was Sega's most successful console, was in production for around a decade and has the biggest library of games for any Sega system. Many of these franchises are rooted in Sega's identity, and even narrowing this list down to 100 would be tough. But I think what we have here is a list that covers a bit of everything, a variety of genres and gameplay styles with no franchises being repeated. Some may be the best in their series, others act as a gateway to further games. So without further ado, let's get into it. Where else could we start but with the original Sonic the Hedgehog? Released in 1991 by Sega, this game changed the industry and Sega's fortunes in the console market overnight. You know the drill, you play as the titular Sonic the Hedgehog as he collects rings, frees his animal friends from their robotic prisons, and collects gems en route to defeating the nefarious Dr. Robotnik. It's been ported to just about everything in the modern day and has had countless sequels, some of which are arguably better. But whilst it would have been easy for me to pick Sonic the Hedgehog 2, given it's my favourite game of all time, the original game should be played first on original hardware. Sure, you may have played it on the Nintendo Switch or any other of the various Nintendo, Xbox and PlayStation consoles, but even if you have, there is still something magical about playing this game on the console it debuted on and was designed for. The music just hits differently coming out of the Mega Drive's original sound trip. The visuals pop just as they were designed to do, and the gameplay is exactly as Yuji Naka intended. It set the template for what a Sonic game should be, and while you may bemoan the slower paced marble and labyrinth zones, I feel they offer something a little different that later games lack entirely. In fact, I feel they're part of the unique charm and identity that this original Sonic the Hedgehog game exudes, and that makes it worth playing today. From the music and visuals to the gameplay, from start to finish, this remains not only a classic, but a milestone in video game history. Play it first, but check out those Mega Drive sequels soon after. Sure enough, another must-have series on the Mega Drive and Genesis is Streets of Rage. While many would say that the sequel is bigger, bolder and arguably better, just like Sonic, the first is where it all began and can be enjoyed before moving on to its 16-bit sequels. However, the original Streets of Rage is still an incredible game in its own right too, with a gritty atmosphere that the later games lacked, and some standout music tracks by Yuzo Koshiro being among the absolute best that the Mega Drive had to offer. You roam across stages, beating the snot out of gang members and taking out bosses. This is very much Sega's answer to Final Fight, but whilst the SNES port of that game struggled with no co-op and only 3 enemies on screen, Streets of Rage delivers full co-op gameplay with hordes of punks to battle at once. It even has features that its sequels don't, such as the ability to join the bad guys at the end, the police backup that acts as a smart bomb, and more violent weapons such as being able to smash a beer bottle and stab the bad guys with it. And of course, Adam is only playable in this game and is one of my personal favourite characters throughout the series. The gameplay remains fast and furious with excellent hit detection and responses that make it so satisfying to rough up those syndicate thugs. An atmospheric and unique beat 'em up that remains one of the best of its kind and serves as a gateway to its sequels. The Wonder Boy series is synonymous with Sega, and while the Dragon's Trap is arguably the series' best, it's the Mega Drive version of Monster World that serves as the ideal place to start for new Mega Drive owners. You play as Shion as he travels the titular Monster World aiming to save the kingdom. Along the way, he'll earn new equipment, expand his life bar, and find new tools and abilities to unlock new areas. It's an adventure game in the Metroidvania mode, with a 2D world to navigate, bosses to defeat, and an epic story to unlock. There's plenty of variety too. Despite losing the animal forms from the previous game on the Master System, you still gain the ability to dive underwater and shrink to the size of a pygmy while also using a variety of magic attacks. It looks absolutely lovely with those cutesy visuals and has an incredible soundtrack by Shinichi Sakamoto, the longtime composer for the series. For me, as a kid, despite it sharing more in common with another Nintendo franchise, this was my Zelda, and it's a game I still love today. You may argue that Dragon's Trap and Monster World 4 are better games, but as a starting point, this is where you want to begin your Mega Drive Monster World adventure. When it comes to choosing a role-playing game to recommend, it usually falls to either Phantasy Star or Shining Force, and just as I did for the Master System, I'm going for the more beginner-friendly RPG in this case. Shining Force is a tactical epic along the lines of Breath of Fire and Final Fantasy Tactics. The story is fantastic, the characters are excellent, and the music and visuals are extremely charming, with a great looking overworld and then each attack resulting in these very detailed and visually impressive cutscenes. The game presents a variety of battle scenarios for you to fight through with your burgeoning army, with a difficulty curve that really eases you in until you get to the more challenging later stages. Along your way, you'll encounter tons of characters and unit types, every one of which has oodles of personality and many of which are hidden, making each playthrough of this classic almost unique. There's a lot of variety in Shining Force, and it always feels fresh and exciting. The Shining series is a huge saga, and chronologically this is the very first, so it's the perfect place to begin that epic journey. What is a retro gaming system without a good run and gun? And when it comes to that genre, Gunstar Heroes is about as good as it gets. Developed by a team of ex-Konami veterans who worked on some of the biggest games from the company, Gunstar takes the run and gun rulebook and basically sets it on fire. You can feel the DNA of games like Contra here, with things such as the weapon pickups and selection, but even that deviates with the ability to combine those weapon types. Then you have the stage selection at the start, the ability to choose between movement types and some frankly ludicrous bosses, and you end up with a shooter that is like no other. The anime style look at the time was extremely novel, and the game leans very much into its Japanese roots, which at the time may have been why so many passed up on publishing it. But, especially in the here and now, those characteristics define this masterpiece from Treasure. Even today, there's still very little else like it, and the effects that the team got the 5-year-old Mega Drive to pull out of its hat at the time are still extremely impressive. It's arguably more accessible than many of its peers of the time. It's still a challenge, but an incredibly fun one, especially in multiplayer. Part racer, part party game, Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament is one of the finest games on the Mega Drive and hands down the best in the series. The game centres around the titular Micro Machines as you race these mini motors around everyday household environments such as the garden, the breakfast table and even the toilet. There's a bunch of modes such as a straight single player race mode, battle modes and time trials. But it's multiplayer where the game really comes alive, with support for 4 and even 8 players. This is top-down multiplayer fun at its finest. Why do you need to play it on the Mega Drive? Well, it's the best version by far. The fastest and most responsive gameplay, the best resolution on console, and it comes with this incredible J-cart, letting you plug in up to 4 pads without the need for an adapter. This game had my friends and I playing our Mega Drive until the early 2000s. It's little wonder that many thought this game had perfect gameplay. Not my words, the words of Games Master magazine. The Turbo Tournament 96 version with its track editor may be the beefier package, but there's a purity to the original Micro Machines 2 that makes it a must play for any Mega Drive owner. While Wonder Boy stood in for Zelda for me as a kid, It was Story of Thor that did it when I was older. Known as Beyond Oasis in the US, this is a proper top-down open adventure with a more action RPG approach similar to a game like Secret of Mana. You control Prince Ali, who has discovered a magic gold armlet capable of wielding magic by calling upon various elemental spirits. Like its inspirations, there is a strong puzzle-solving element to the game, while Ali himself levels up as he defeats enemies to boost his stats. Unique to this game is the various weapons with limited uses, from arrows to greatswords. In fact, it's the combat and movement in Story of Thor that really makes it stand out, with attacks that form combos through the wide variety of weapons to the platform style exploration. Story of Thor plays familiarly but differently enough to make itself an excellent standout adventure. The visuals are stunning, with huge cartoony sprites and colourful backdrops, while the cutscenes often look incredible. Music meanwhile is by Yuzo Koshiro, once again showing his excellence and versatility in producing the rousing atmospheric soundtrack. Make no mistake, for Mega Drive and Genesis owners looking for their first adventure, this is a must-have. You could make a top 10, hell, a top 50 just from Mega Drive shoot 'em ups alone. But if you have to start with just one, it has to be Thunder Force 4, right? Known as Lightning Force in the US, this is widely regarded as the best in Technosofts' legendary series. Thunder Force 4 opens by letting the player choose which of the first 4 stages they wish to start with. Each one is huge, and despite this being a horizontal shooter, the levels have enormous verticality to them as the screen scrolls up and down, giving the player one of the largest playing areas in the genre. Despite the scale, this is an absolutely stunning looking game, and the pixel art holds up immaculately even now. And of course it has one of the greatest soundtracks on the system, with immaculate use of that Yamaha sound chip. Yes, it's the 4th game in the series, of which 3 are on Sega's console, but you don't need to play this for the story, and so it's the perfect introduction to the shoot 'em up nirvana that is the Sega Mega Drive. While I'd have loved to get one of Sega's Superscaler ports onto this list, the truth is that they're all outdone on the Mega Drive by Road Rash 2. Electronic Arts were on fire during the 16-bit era, and this is arguably their finest work. Road Rash is a motorcycle racing game, but with a dash of violence and mayhem. It's not completely off the wall, there is a degree of gritty realism to its pixel biking action. As you race through a series of 25 courses, you can snatch chains, clubs and other weapons from other riders as you vie for first place by any means necessary. Rival bikers aren't your only concern either. You'll have to contend with traffic, farm life and even cops who will nick you if you come off your bike with them in chase. While not as smooth as say Super Hang-On or Outrun on the Mega Drive, it still beats the pants off the likes of Space Harrier 2, Super Thunderblade and Galaxy Force 2, while maintaining its unique premise and fantastic gameplay. The visuals and sounds are barely a step up from the original Road Rash, but the second game adds 2-player split screen action, more varied locations, more bikes and more hilarious cutscenes. It arguably hasn't been bettered in the series, and is the best way to play a Road Rash game simultaneously with a friend. EA and Sega's relationship was pretty special in the 16-bit era, and this is the title that you should probably play first. While with a few of Sega's first party games on this list, we've gone for the first or earliest entry in the series on the platform, in the case of Shinobi 3, we're starting with what I feel is the best entry to the series, and also the final one on 16-bit hardware. Shinobi 3 is an absolute masterclass in game design in every conceivable way. From graphics and sound to gameplay and stage design, it's one of the finest action games ever made. The expanded moveset of Joe Musashi still makes the game incredibly enjoyable and rewarding to play today. But it isn't here purely on its quality, on which you could argue that Revenge of Shinobi is just as impressive. Instead, the reason why you should play the 3rd Shinobi game first is because of its difficulty curve. Shinobi 3 is a far kinder game to beginners, at least at first, whereas Revenge just wants to murder you from the outset. It's still a challenging title, perhaps even more so than its predecessor once you get to the final areas, but that's what makes this the perfect place to start. Master this game and you'll be ready for the biggest hitters of the franchise. So there you have it, 10 games to get your Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis journey started. Unlike the Saturn, Master System and Dreamcast, there are several ways to play these games, being on various collections as well as various mini consoles. Frustratingly, not all of these games can be found on a single collection or mini console, and in some cases, they remain console exclusive. Should we find another 10 games that can only be played officially on the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis? And what do our Sega Mega Drive and Genesis veterans think of these choices? What games do you think Mega Drive gamers should start with? Let us know in the comments below. And until next time, we will see you on the Sega side.